The California Democratic Party recently had its convention featuring such heavyweights as John Hickenlooper and John Delaney, who both recently got booed, and it was awesome. And some guy, of course, named Bernie Sanders, who seemed to be really popular with the young people. I'm not quite sure why. Mysteriously absent was the presumptive frontrunner, Joseph Biden, who, by the way, in recent polls has lost about 7 points off of his lead against Senator Sanders. Interesting. Now, while Biden was apparently somewhere else during the convention, apparently speaking at a campaign event in Ohio, his aides were in the Bay Area, and they were soliciting money. Now, according to CNBC, advisors Simone Sanders, who recently who in 2016 actually had worked in the Bernie Sanders campaign, switched over to Team Biden this year, or I should say this cycle, and Cristobal Alex had gathered Sunday with more than 24 bundlers, people who raised money from high-dollar donors, at the San Francisco home of Sandy Robertson. Now, Sandy Robertson is co-founder of private equity firm Francisco Partners, according to people familiar with the matter. So, here you have a get-together with two high-profile advisors with the Biden campaign going and soliciting large donations. Now, some of these other people that had come to bundle at this event were Richard Bloom, an investment banker and husband of U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein, veteran trial lawyer Joseph Kotchett, Steve Wesley, founder of tech investment firm The Wesley Group, Denise Bauer, former U.S. ambassador to Belgium, and Wade Randelet, the president of Dashboard Technology. So all these people are basically bundling and meeting to raise money for Joe Biden to win not only the Democratic nomination, but in their minds, hopefully, to beat Donald J. Trump in the general election. Now, all this makes you kind of wonder who the corporate candidate is in this race and who the establishment prefers. Now, I remember that it was originally supposed to be Kamala Harris, and she was the favorite. Heck, I even said that she was the favored one. Turns out, no. I guess they forgot that whole thing about we should have women and women of color leading the party, and now they prefer, and the money prefers, mostly, Joe Biden. Fascinating. Now, Robert said it had confirmed to CNBC that the meeting did take place, but declined to provide details, other than saying, quote, "We had a very successful meeting, but I cannot comment beyond that at the moment." You had a very successful meeting. What does that mean? It means that likely Biden might have got a lot of big donations lined up. Now, that, of course, is nothing new for this group and for the establishment preferred candidate. In fact, Robertson had hosted high-dollar fundraisers for President Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton during both of their presidential runs. Bloom, Feinstein's husband, has invested in Democratic campaigns for years, as well as was part of the host committee for a Hollywood fundraiser that took in $700,000 for Biden's campaign in May. So that's where all the high dollar donations are coming from. Kotchett helped raise up to $100,000 for Obama's 2008 run for president, according to data from the Nonpartisan Center for Responsive Politics. So again, there's a lot of money. So now here we have the usual suspects. As you can see, they've been heavily invested in establishment politics, raising money for Obama, Clinton, and now Biden. Is it any wonder that he is the favorite? Now, these are big financial bundlers that raise large sums of money off wealthy, more establishment donors. Now, this, I think, is what is wrong with our politics. Wealthy people, corporate donors, have too much influence. And so while these advisors were talking to the donors and while Biden was doing a campaign event, the other candidates were appealing to Democratic voters and showing people their vision of America. Now, in the, context of John Delaney and Hickenlooper, I don't agree with their vision of America. I don't agree that oh, Medicare, it's too hard to do. It's bad policy, as Delaney had said, and got booed for almost 2 minutes straight. Or, Hickenlooper attacking, or basically sounding like a right-winger and saying, we should not have socialism. But at least they went there. At least they faced what they probably knew was going to be a very hostile audience. And still, at least they had the balls to show up. Joe Biden, not so much. Now, some California delegates took to social media to show how upset they were that Biden decided to dodge the convention. Carrie Templeton tweeted out a picture of a California highway sign with graffiti that says, Biden can't win Michigan. She added, true, don't you know, and apparently he doesn't need to appear in California either. Now, that's interesting because, for one, do you want to know who won the Michigan primary last time? In case you forgot, it was Bernie Sanders, with an upset win over Hillary Clinton, who was expected to win the state. And he narrowly was able to get that state, right, to win that state. Now, California was completely different. However, thanks to a lot of the work from the activists and them entering into the California Democratic Party, we've seen a little bit of change. And now that California seems to be going a lot more towards Bernie Sanders. And we'll see how that shakes out, as California now is one of the first states, not the first, but one of the first states to run their primary contest. Now, here's the thing. Bernie, by the way, mentioning him, he was at the convention because he doesn't need to run to the big donors or hold private fundraising events with big money donors. No, he was there. He was talking to the people and spreading his message. Now, that's the opposite of Joe Biden. Why? Well, because Joe Biden doesn't want to make a lot of public appearances. See, Biden would rather have these events where they feature him as the marquee guest, and these events usually end up at the homes of established Biden supporters. Biden's allies are also setting the stage for a San Francisco-focused fundraising tour that will stop in Silicon Valley, where he can raise money. So we see who he's courting, we see who he prefers, right, to talk to. But why is he not talking to Democrats? Well, there's two reasons, right? Well, for one, he's right now ahead in the polls. So I think this is part of that hubris that goes along with the Democratic frontrunner or being a lot like Hillary Clinton and saying, well, why do I need to talk to Democrats? I'm not interested in courting the base. I'm not interested in talking to the base. No, I'm going to go to Ohio and I'm going to talk to people there and I'm going to say how moderate I am and how we need to reach out to the other side of the aisle. Haven't we seen this before? I think we have. And look, there's also another angle to that, and that's, of course, the mythology that has been built up around Joe Biden. I mean, a lot of people who don't know his history, who are, not very involved Democratic Party voters, they look at Joe Biden and they say, oh, it's working class Uncle Joe. He's a friend to Obama. He's the guy in the memes. I love the memes. Everybody loves the memes. Well, it turns out that in reality, that's not who he is. And the more he talks and the more that comes out about his past, the less popular he becomes. Again, he just recently faced a 7-point drop in the newest poll. There was another candidate that had a similar problem, that the more they talked, the more you got to know about them in their past, the less popular they became. We saw that happen, and they became our nominee anyway. And, well, we saw how that movie ended. No, it's time to nominate a real progressive who doesn't take big corporate or big donor money, has a vision, and isn't afraid to talk to people and to represent them. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.